Hello everybody. Welcome back to another session on Python programming. Last time we had discussed some floating points data types like the complex, the fraction, the decimal, and so on. And I had asked you to solve some assignment. It looks like Kaustubh has solved one, Ashish has solved one. Was there only one assignment that was given?
सर वो फ्लो मतलब उसको ही कन्वर्ट करना था ना.
Yeah, was there only one question or two questions?
थ्री असाइनमेंट्स थे सर. वो पहले दो के तो उसमें कुछ चेंजेस नहीं थे ना.
Okay. So let me check for the solution for the assignment that you have submitted. So let us first check the solutions and then we'll proceed further. For an income tax, so here it says input, enter your income in rupees, import decimal. Decimal is translating the income. Income tax is decimal of 3.0. Okay. Tax payable is income tax into rate into income, and tax payable is tax payable. Let's see how does it really work. So let's run this particular script. It's income tax. So we'll go to the prompt and see how does it display the result. Enter the income in rupees. Suppose my income is 0.6. The tax payable is rupees so and so. Okay, that's good enough. But then let's run this code 1, 2, 3 times and see. Suppose my income is so much. So let's see what's the tax payable. It is so much. I think it has gone wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, it's 30% of this amount. Let's still run the code once again. My income is suppose 10. The tax payable is 3.0. Okay, my income is suppose there's a problem. If somebody even gives income in this particular fashion, we should always ensure that the tax payable that you have given is rounded up. So this calculation has gone wrong. So we had talked about some thing like get context and then precision. So
that round भी use कर सकते ना.
Round नहीं करना था because in decimal we had a special concept called as controlling the precision. So I had told for floating point values you definitely go ahead using round, and for decimal we had a function called as get context dot precision, and with which you could control the precision. So that was expected. The other assignment that was submitted is annual income.
Annual income one.
Annual income one है annual income.
Annual income one.
So decimal to decimal input what's your annual rupees, that's perfect. Round नहीं करना था यहाँ. Decimal of 0.3. Okay, that. So what is the decimal of 0.3? So that was the tax rate. So this was better way to write it rather than completing the entire statement in one line. Into annual income, comma 2. Okay, avoid using round, or rather do the settings for decimal. So how do you do the settings for decimal? You could somewhere at the top itself say decimal dot get context dot precision is equal to 2. So something like this you could do to control the precision. So look at decimal. if you look at decimal.getContext, getContext.precision. So you could set the precision to whatever. Get context is smaller. I have put across C capital, C small. Get context and dot precision, you could set whatever precision you would like to have and control the precision. So these were the changes that you should have done in this particular code. So make the necessary changes and try out the code once again. So that was about the assignments that we had taken up. Then it's time for us to go ahead with the next part of our discussion. We cannot stop here. So let's proceed further with the next part of our discussion. Fractions we have seen. So in the last example, Ashish has written, he would like to have income tax rate, and he said income tax rate is 0.3, decimal to decimal of 0.3. But I want that variable to be such that its value cannot change in future. So if you want to have a variable whose value cannot change in future, then we need to know about concept of constants. Python has a limited support for constants. Since Python 3.6 onwards, we have very good support for constants in Python. Before that, the naming convention would tell us whether it's constant or not. That means if any name appears everything in uppercase, that's a constant. And Python Foundation, since they work with C, they also follow the same convention. But even if I write something in uppercase, that does not actually make it constant. It is just a hint that we are giving to other developer that you please do not assign value to it. But I want it to be restricted from its value from being changed. That means in by mistake, if user tries to assign a value to a constant variable, that should be restricted. In that case, we need to know more about constants. So let's understand how to define constants. A constant variable or simply constant is a variable whose value should not change after it has been assigned initial value. So that's the basic idea. That means if I create a variable, it should be such that its value will never change. It's only read only. You cannot change the value of that variable. Some language provide explicit mechanism. Like in C, C++, we have a keyword called as const. In Java, also we have a keyword called as final. Those are the ways in which in those languages we can define something called as constant. That means if I say const int, inst const x in C or C++, the compiler will jealously guard the constantness of that particular variable. That means even by mistake, if you fail to ensure its constantness and by mistake you assign a value to it, the compiler will generate an error for you saying this is not something which is allowed. Python, unfortunately, leaves it to the programmer to make sure constants value do not change. So it is you as a programmer, your duty to ensure that the thing is constant. So the common practice specify constant variables with all capital letters. That means I'll say bottle volume, capital letters, max size, capital letters. That's a common convention. Just by writing something's name in capital case, that does not enforce constantness. Python did not have a feature called as constant variables. It is just a way of conveying to the other developers. So this variable that I'm using in my script is constant. And how do I conveying that? Just by giving the name in uppercase. So it's just a convention. Huh? You provide information to yourself and others. Others are those people who are maintaining your code. That you intend for this variable in all capital letters to be constant throughout the program. That means any variable whose name is in uppercase, our intention is that this variable should be treated as constant. But compile is not going to come to your rescue in case if you do not adhere to that particular rule. You do not stick to that rule. You violate this particular rule, compile will not complain. Let's check that thing out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the prompt and I'm going to define constant variables. Here I will. Let's start with Python. And I define one variable called as max, whose value is 99. And if I say print, let's do it in ideally. That's more colorful, isn't it? we can decide the size. Let's go to option. Let's go to configure ideally. Let's decide upon the size. ये window जो है, ये the height and width. So width, let it be 80. Let's change the height to say 30. And say apply and say okay. And let's come out of this. Exit ideally. And let's start ideally once again and see what happens. Ideally. Let's check whether the size gets reduced. Okay.
Sir, you are on mute.
Let's reduce the height even further and see where to configure ideally. Let's look at the window. It says height, it is 80, height is 30. I'm going to change the height to 20 seconds. I'm going to say apply. I'm going to say okay. I'm going to come out of it and I will try and check it once again. IDLE. Let's see whether the height has been reduced further. Height has been reduced further. So it is for us to decide upon the height and the width. So let's make height as 25. That's the option, configure ideally. And we go to Windows and make height as 25. Height as 25. And then it tells you indentation kitna chahiye, 4 spaces chahiye, completion pop-up wait 2 millisecond के बाद pop-up आ जाएगा. Display balance mismatch, format paragraph max width 72. Okay. I say okay, okay. I close this. I start with ideally once again. And this time the height should be more. This is good enough kind of height that we have. Everything fits on one screen. Now, here I define some variable called as max, whose value is 99. So if I print the value of this particular variable saying max is equal to, that's a string, comma, max, that's your variable. It says max is 99. But then that was not constant. I wanted it to be a constant. So if I change this value of max to 88, it changes. And then if I print this max, it's printing 88. I want to enforce constantness. So I say max in capital is equal to 100. And if I print the value of max now, this capital max value is what I'm trying to print. Okay, it gives you 100. Can I change this value max from 100 to 1000? And can I see? Oh, it's changing. So just by giving the name in uppercase, that does not make it a constant in Python. But that's one convention that we need to follow. So this was a restriction that we had till Python 3.6. So what changes have happened? Let's go to Python doc.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Voice is breaking?
Yes, sir. Little bit, sir. Yes, it's still taking between.
Now, question 1
No, sir, it's breaking.
is breaking. Yeah, I also very much. So we are talking about variables which are maximum, which are constant. So we try to define this variable as constant by giving it the name in capital case, but that did not make any difference. So I told you there is a module called as typing that was introduced in Python 3.5. Sorry, not 3.6, but 3.5. So we have a feature called as typing. No, where was typing introduced? Let's see. When was this finally introduced? We can say it was in version 3.8. Okay, new in version 3.8. So it says CPEP 9591. PEP is Python Enhancement Proposal. So any new feature that gets added, you can find more details over here. There is no runtime checking for these properties. So it says see this particular thing feature. So if I come to this qualifier, this was suggested by Michael Sullivan. He's very, very popular in this world of Python. He introduced this concept called as final as a decorator, final as an annotation. He says this is meant for preventing unintended modification of a module class level constants and documenting them as constants in a checkable way. In a checkable way. That means compiler is not going to guarantee you, but you can check whether you have done something wrong or not. So there is a concept of final that has now been introduced. So let's try and use this final. Let's try and use it the way it has been used over here itself. So if I try and define something as final directly, the way it has been done in the documentation, let's see what happens. If I do this, it generates an error. It says, I do not know what is final. This final concept was introduced in a module called as typing. So you'll have to say from typing import final. The moment you say from typing import final, now if I define this variable, that variable definition is okay. Now I have created a variable called as max size, whose value, which is final and whose value is 9,000. How about changing the value for this particular variable? So we had said max size is equal to 9,000. I try and change the value for max size from 9,000 to 9. So it has changed. So it did not make any sense for us to define a variable. And then when you're trying to change the value, it generates no error. Whereas over here it said, if I say max size equal to max size plus 1, error is reported. So if I again want to check whether error is reported or not, I try and say max size something plus 1, it is just working. So this particular final has not made any difference for us. And I change the value of max size, it is just changing the value of that particular variable. But we need to read the documentation very carefully. It says error reported by type checker. So we need to know what is a type checker. So there are a number of type checkers which are available in Python. One such type checker that is available in Python is MyPy. So if you look at this, MyPy is static typing for Python. Static typing for Python. It says MyPy is essentially a Python linker on steroid and it can catch many programming errors by analyzing your program without actually having to run it. So let's understand what this MyPy project is and how do we make use of this MyPy. That's meant for static type checking. It's meant for static typing for Python. So ये आपके पास MyPy है, Python MyPy. You will find all the documentation over here for MyPy. What is it meant for? All the common issues. It says MyPy is a static type checker for Python. PEP484 with MyPy add this hint and so on. It gives you the okay. So if I create this variable and if I'm changing the value, okay, number plus 1, that's okay. Okay, number is equal to input. What's your favorite number is number plus 1. Okay, so this will actually be allowed, but now we are looking at installing this MyPy. So it says Python 3 -n pip install -u MyPy. Okay, that's one way to install, provided pip is already installed on your machine. So let's try and copy this particular command and try and install MyPy in my system. Here we go. So here I'll exit. And we'll try and install MyPy. Let's see. It says, I don't know what is Python 3 because you're in Windows. So I say Python. So since I'm in Windows, I said Python -n pip install u -u MyPy. So it's installing, collecting package. So we are now looking at how to install. So let it take its sweet time to install. You get a new release of pip available, so and so. So it says, पहला आपका pip upgrade करो. So let's upgrade the pip. Here we go. So I'll first upgrade the pip and then I'll install MyPy once again. I'll also tell you what is pip all about. Currently, we are going to use pip for installing various modules. So ये कह रहा है uninstalling ये version को uninstall कर रहा है. And found existing installation 3.1, so it will uninstall, and 22.3.1 successfully uninstalled. Okay, and then it will install the latest version of Python pip, that is 23.1.2. So ये install कर लिया इसने 23.1.2. Now since it has been correctly installed, now let's install MyPy. Okay, the requirement already satisfied. It is already installed. Great. Now what I'm going to do with that? Okay, let's go back to our program. So we had a program in Notepad we had already opened. So let me just open up that program once again. Here we go. And we had this decimal value. And this particular value was a constant that we had to define. So what do? I go here, I define a constant right at the beginning. And to define that constant, first I'll import typing, or I'll say from typing, import final. So final is available now. And here I'll define a constant. How do I define a constant? I'll say income tax rate. Okay. Earlier, when you are trying to define a final variable, we had copied a content over here. It says max size colon final 9,000. Okay. So I am to say income tax colon final is equal to 0.3. So I define this particular thing as constant. And then I'm going to use this during this calculation. But this I want it to be of type decimal. So I'm going to say decimal point this. Decimal dot decimal. Decimal dot decimal. It can be of any type, 0.3. The point is, this particular variable has now been declared as final. Now that it has been declared as final, I'll use this variable now here, income tax rate into 2. And precision is suppose 3 was what I said, and then we plan to display the income tax. Let's run this particular code and see. I'm on the command prompt and I run this particular command, Python. The name of the file is annual income.py. Says what's your income? I say 7 rupees. It says 2.1 is the tax that you have to pay. What's your income? I say 10 rupees. It says 3.0 is the tax that we have to pay. 30% is what we have to pay. I've been asked what's your income? I say 11 rupees. It says 3.3 is what you have to pay if it's 11 rupees, your income tax and so on. So, but what about this final?
Sir.
If in case by mistake, somewhere in the program, somebody changes the value of the final before we do the calculation equal to 1. यानी final जो 3 था, तो 0.3 था, उसको आपने 1.3% बना दिया. So you're gonna get, you have to pay a lot of tax. So let's see, if my income is suppose 10,000 rupees, so in that case, I'm going to pay 3,000 rupees. Oh, is it working right? 3,000,
Sir.
30%.
Annual income 1 है sir file.
अच्छा, annual income 1 है क्या? Okay, I'm going to give the income as 10,000. ये कहता है 10,000 दोगे, so annual income is 1.3 E plus 0.5. That means 1.3 into 10 to the power 5. That's the tax that you have to pay. But that's wrong. 10 to the power 5 इतना अगर income tax pay करने लगे, income से ज़्यादा tax pay करने लगे, तो मुश्किल में पड़ जाएंगे. Just to understand this, if my income is 10 rupees and I have been asked to pay 13 rupees tax, that doesn't make a sense. That's because this value changes was possible. But then we had declared it constant. We had declared it final. When you write a script, you need to pass your script through an external static type checking tool like MyPy. So you say MyPy annual income 1. So when you run this particular command, MyPy install ho chuka hai. Let's restart your command prompt once again to see the effect. I say MyPy. Okay, let's see why MyPy did not get installed. Let me start this as a command prompt as an administrator once again. So I start with an administrator. I'll say terminal. Command prompt run as administrator. Looks like the changes that we had done, installation that we had done was not final. And we come over here. We plan to install MyPy. GitHub. So we introduced in 2019. I'll directly write. GitHub पे गए, MyPy. Let's go ahead installing first. Says -n, अच्छा -n, and then we install it. Since we are working in Windows, I will not have Python 3. Okay, it says it's already installed. MyPy. Okay, so it says this is the location where it has already been installed. We can also have MyPy in side packages. Let's go and have a look at this location. MyPy is already there. ये आपका MyPy है. It's already there at this location. What I'm trying to do is, I'm just trying to check if I installed it, why was .NET not accessible? I'll do environment variables. I go to environment variables. Environment variables. We have something called as path. I'll add a new path and see. Let's try this. I'll close this and again start command prompt. And I'll check for MyPy. Strange. Okay, let us do it under Linux and see.
MyPy प्रोग्राम टाका ते खाली गेले.
You see, there is changes that has happened. So what I did for the first time was right. It should directly install. So why is this not installing? Let me check. Python 3 is working. Exit. No
Sir.
module called as pip.
सर फाईल नेम टाकून बघा ना त्याच्यासमोर. सर
एक मिनट. तो पाइथन पिप है. Yeah, it was installed. Let's see. Yes, you're saying something.
सर ते मायपाय आणि आपली फाईल नेम टाकून बघा ना.
नाही, MyPy जे accessible नाही तर कसं होणार?
ओके.
The tool, it should give some other error for me. First, it should be accessible. MyPy is generating an error. MyPy is not an international command. तो file name तो आ जाएगा, but file name तो हम दे सकते हैं, but file name could have been anything. MyPy something something. कह रहा MyPy ही accessible नहीं. So although we have installed MyPy, it is not recognizing that MyPy. That is what I need to check. Why is it not recognizing MyPy? Here I have updated it. Let me see after updation, is it getting installed? So let it install. Update कर दिया मैंने. Now let's just check this updating. Hopefully it will give us an opportunity to split. Yeah, it has updated now. It will install. We can also upgrade it if there is any issue. Successfully installed MyPy. Python -3 MyPy. Let's check it out. Okay, MyPy is installed now. Now, since MyPy has now been installed, okay, the command that we tried to install was sudo apt install MyPy. It has installed MyPy. Since it has now been installed, now we can check our code. Now we can check our code. What we need to do now is to go back to our script. So I'll say cd/mnt/c/ /temp. I'll go to this temp folder. What I'll do is I'll just copy your file into the temp folder. So your file was something called as annual income 1. So I'll just copy this file into C:/temp. I copy into C:/temp. And over here in temp, I'll work with it. I'll say ls*.py. So we have annual income 1.py. Now, if I run this particular script, Python 3, annual income 1.py says, what's your annual income? I say my income is 1 lakh. Tax payable is 1.3 into 10 to the power 4. ये गलत आ रहा है. So I need to make some changes to this particular code. So let's go here. आपका annual income 1 है. Properties में आ रहा है. Now open कर रहा है. Open with Notepad. Here we have changed the value of that particular variable here. That is creating a problem. That's an error. Why? Because this particular variable has been declared as final. Now listen, static type checking means before you run the code, you can do the checking. But for that, there is no runtime check that is available in Python. Before you run the code, you can definitely check in Python. So once, say, Kaustuv has written that code, he has submitted to us. I'll run this code through this tool called as MyPy. And I'll say MyPy, your annual income 1.py. The moment I run this particular code, it will give us information about what is wrong in this particular code. So let it take its own sweet time. Shouldn't take so long. It says error, cannot assign final name, income tax rate. Okay. At line number 8, there is a mistake. Found one error in file 1 source code. So let's see what's there at line number 8. On line number 8, this is the change that we have done. See what is it saying? Error found in file. At which line? At line number 8, the error is found. And what is that we have done on line number 8? We have changed the value of a final variable. So if I have a final variable, if I try and change the value of the final variable, tools like MyPy can statically check what mistake has been done. Let's comment out this line now. Let's comment out this line. I save this file. I run this tool. Once again, it will say everything okay, no problem. Success, no issues. So when you write your script, make sure that you pass your script through such tools like MyPy That is a static type checking tool. Will check statically if there are any mistakes that you have done. Now that you have run this particular code, now it is safe for you to run this program. My annual income is say 1 lakh. Tax payable is 3.00 plus E4, 10 to the power 3 into 10 to the power 4. Okay. I do not want the result to be displayed in such exponential format. I want it to display in fixed decimal format. I don't want such exponential format. Say if it was 10,000, 1,000, it says 300. But as the number of zeros goes on increasing, it tries to display it. If it is 1 lakh, it's saying 1.3 into 10 to the power 4. 3 into 10 to the power 4. Oh, that's 1 lakh. 3 into 10 to the power 4. So it is 30,000 is what we are supposed to pay. Isn't it? 3 into 10 to the power 4. So as the number of zeros goes on increasing, it is switching over to exponential form of representation of value. And I want the representation done in fixed format. At least the answer is right now. Plus you are not allowed to make the changes. Now what remains is formatting of this data. So this is the result that we're trying to display, and I would like to format this particular data. Now there are multiple ways in which we can format the data. One technique of formatting data is a concept called as, there are 4 or 5 different ways in which we could have formatted the data. One is string.format is a concept that we have. Other is, there is a feature called as fstring that is also giving us an opportunity to format. But we haven't yet seen how to format the data and force this result to be displayed in fixed format. We haven't yet seen. Although there is a very good support that Python provides. Let's go to python.org once again. Let's go to python.org. And here we have a concept called as string. Now in string, in Python docs, we have a concept called as string. And that provides a method called as format. And that gives you an opportunity to format date and time. All kind of formatting is possible. So I'll just say format. So there is a built-in function called as format. If I come to this built-in function format, it says format, what is the value and what format you would like to format that particular data. So there's a concept called as formatting, which is available. And interpretation of format specification depends upon the type of value that has been used as an argument. So value and format specifier is what I would like to have. So let's try and use this format function to format the value. So here what do I do is I say format, and I'm going to format this particular value saying comma, I say %.2f. Let's see, does it work for us? Okay, let's run this particular script and see. We run the code once again. It says no, one bracket is missing. A bracket missing here. So let me add that one bracket and run the code once again. Well, what's your annual income? I say my annual income is 1 lakh. It says, array, there's something invalid format string. So there is something which is invalid. Okay, your annual income is trying line number 10 there is a mistake. So this is a line number 10, and it says, okay, there is some mistake that you have done on this particular line. So here in format, it says we have value and we have some format specification. Where does this format come from? So there is this class called as format which is available, and it says you can have numbers, you can have floating point numbers which are there. There is a lot of things that we can do with those things. There is sign, infinity, there is way in which you can format the data. So it's talking about a lot of things. So here we go. So format specification mini language. So what does it say? So it says these are various formats that we can use for formatting the data. One such format specifier is F. And here what I use is percentage. So let's say F and see what happens. So since I'm using F as a format specifier, let's see what happens if I run this particular code. Again, my income is 10 lakh. So it says 30,000. Watch, it has correctly displayed the result in fixed format. Why? Because that format specifier has been given to us. I would now like to control the precision. So here it says there is a concept of controlling the precision. I can say digits is what I would like to give. So here there are various formatting options which have been given to us, and it's giving you information over all of them. So C, D, E, F, all those things have been given. Here we have F. So it says fixed point notation. So what I have is now fixed point notation is what I have. So 3000 is the answer that has now been displayed. So I also want to control the precision. And it has just said we have a fixed point style format which is now available. Okay. The precision is 0, treated equivalent of 0 is treated equivalent to precision of 1. Okay, that's okay. But where is the precision? Okay, how is the precision being specified? It says coefficient for decimal, floating point, at least fixed notation is what we have got now. Exponential name uses 6-digit precision after decimal point for float and uses precision large enough to show all the coefficient for decimal and so on. Okay, so since it was 1,30,000 was the right value. Let us now give some other number while you're running this code. I run this particular code and I say my income is so and so. It says 137.00. Okay. Let's say my income is 11 rupees. It says 11.30. It's correctly formatting. So what is happening is I have already given the precision over here. And then I'm using this format F. So I'm saying format income tax, comma F. So I'm saying, okay, F manner, use it in fixed format. If I had said E, then what would happen? Let's see. If I'm saying E, it would go ahead with exponential format. Let's say my income is something like 3 into 10 to the power 5. I do not want exponential format. I want fixed format. So just say over here F. Just say over here F. Save this file. Come out. I give the same input. And see, it is just giving you answer as 30,000 correctly. So X is for fixed format. E is for exponential format. I called a function format. Precision we are already specified. I'm saying format income tax को fixed format में represent कीजिएगा with a decimal point. I do not want that exponential format that is there. So these are the changes that we could have got in the program. If in case if you make the changes, irrespective you make the changes or not, when you write a script, make sure that you run your script through this tool called as MyPy. MyPy and your annual income. So it will tell you if there is everything is okay. If everything is okay, then only run the script. Now it says no issues. That means your script is perfect. Now it makes sense for us to run the code, not before that. So if this is income, it says tax payable is 13,800 and so on. So that was about constant variables. So there is no inherent support for constant. To have support for constant, what we did is we went ahead installing a tool called as a static type checker called as MyPy. And how did we install it? We said sudo apt install MyPy. And it says it's already installed. Had it not been installed, you could have went ahead and installed. So the Linux may have the sudo apt install MyPy. And Windows, what we had done was actually write pip. I'm wondering ये pip क्यों गायब हो रहा है in Windows. Once installed, it should really work. So Python -1 pip. It says already satisfied. It's already there. Then it should also be working. So I'll check what's wrong in Windows, but we definitely checked it. Some settings additionally probably need to be done in Windows, but Linux we already saw it is working correctly. For Linux, it's working correctly. This tool called as MyPy. So MyPy is a tool which is meant for static type checking. Static means even before you run the program, you can do the type checking. And we have seen the concept of static type checking, So this particular variable that we have defined over here, income tax rate, we are saying it's final. That means we do not plan to change its value. So any attempt made to change the value, MyPy will identify it. So that's how you will define constant henceforth. So from typing, you'll import final, and any variable that you want to define constant, you'll say colon final, and then the type of the value that you would like to assign to that. So it can be any type, string type, float type, character type, everything can be made final. Any attempt made to change the value of final variable will generate an error. So final is constant, what we have seen in logic, where it is final. Have you understood this particular concept? Quick feedback. Shantanu, Monica, क्या डाउट है? Monica, what's the doubt?
Sir, I have joined late.
Yes, Monica.
Joined late.
Okay. But final तो I have discussed now. Final concept.
ते समजलं होतं मॅक्स आणि मीन काय होतं मॅक्सचं काय होतं ते नाही समजलं.
Come again.
Sir, you are teaching something max constant variable at the starting.
Yeah,
I
but
haven't
have you
understood
understood this final?
Yes, I have understood this.
So the final is my constant variable, nothing else. So in Python, there is nothing as constant. If I have to define anything as constant, we'll say it as final in Python. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So I shared the code with all of you with the changes. So in the previous examples also, wherever you have defined constant, use final and then go ahead using it as constant. And to check, install MyPy to do the static type checking. I'll check out what went wrong in Windows, why did it not get installed in Windows, that I'll check, so that we will have, we will be in a position to do it. And because most of you are working with Windows, so we need to definitely check why was it not working right in Windows. Working rather, why is it not getting installed in Windows? I'll check it and I'll come back to you with issues in Windows. Which issue hai kya, ye dekhenge, so that you also don't face.
Sir,
Yes, please.
static type checking मतलब क्या? अब बार-बार repeat कर.
Static type
क्यों है?
checking का मतलब है normal type checking आपके languages में compiler करता है while you run the program. Okay, while you compile the program, even before you run the program. So, but compiler does it. So compiler in Python will not do this checking. Static means before you compile or before you run, this tool will analyze the code and do the checking even before you run this particular code. Static, before you run the program, not during runtime, but even before compile time. Is that okay?
Yes.
So you don't have to run this program to check it. While you're compiling it, even before you compile the code, you could check what is happening. So there is no need for you to even compile the code or run the program. So static type checking. Static means without executing the code, you are checking whether it is running correctly or not. Is that okay? But then this tool needs to be separately installed. So after ये tool पहले install करना होगा. After I install this particular tool, before you run the code, before you run your script, statically you can check. Statically means without making any changes or without running the program, you can check whether everything that you have written in this code is correct or not. At least that final concept happens. I'll tell you what all more statically we can check, what all checks can we do without running the program. But first thing that we have to see is how to make variable final. I'll share with you the link to the doc. So the doc will tell you everything that MyPy can do. Okay, so let's see what all things MyPy can do. Yeah. The best place will be at the doc. We'll give you all the information about it. So ये आपका जो selection था static versus dynamic typing checking क्या है. So all those things you can read about it. It's too much right now to read, so I'm not going into details. But in case if you're interested, you will find all the information here. Right from installing to static or dynamic type checking. What I've explained is only static type checking. Before you run the program, you can check it. So there is a lot that MyPy actually does. MyPy cheat sheet. This is you can specify variables of type integer or a float or a boolean or a string or a byte, and then you can go ahead using it. So to a float variable, if I try and assign value of some other type, it will, no, that's not the right way to go about. So all those things happen. So I'm just sharing this link with you all for those who are more interested in knowing more about MyPy, more than what we currently need. Yeah, so the link has been shared with all of you. That's nothing but the documentation. There is a, if you read the doc, there is site, we will find all the information about all third-party or extensions which are there. You will find all the information. So when I use the word cheat sheet, means you can say some shortcuts which are available. So you don't have to go through the entire documentation. Cheat sheet will, in one line short will give you some information. So while you play some games, you have cheat sheets where you can get additional lives, you can get new armor kind of thing, some shortcuts which are normally not known. But the read the doc is good enough. The read the doc will give you enough understanding for any packages that we install externally, which are not built-in part of Python as a language. That means you'll have to separately install. They will not come when you install Python, that will not be installed automatically for you. If you need that support, you'll have to install these extension packages, and then we can make use of it. Okay, so that was about constants, the way we can define constants when it comes to Python. Any questions so far before I start with the most important topic? We plan to start next with concept of strings. So before I go to string, any questions, anybody?
No.
Yes?
No, sir.
No. So the next topic for a discussion is concept of strings. Now remember, you like it, you don't like it. Strings are one of the most used concept in any programming language. Be it C, C++, Java, Python. You will hardly come across any code, any script where there is no string. When we say print, we put something in quotes. That was a string that we are trying to display. When I said input, we prompted the message. That was a string that we are having. Every program, there will be a concept of string that is in there. Python can also manipulate strings, which can be expressed in several ways. So what are the different ways in which you can express strings? You can enclose them in single quotes, or we can enclose them in double quotes. Let's check it out. Are both the things allowed? Here we are. So I want to create a string. I say my name is equal to, in quotes, I say my name is Rishikesh. I have put in single quotes. And if I want to print my name, it correctly prints Rishikesh. And I say your name is equal to, suppose it is Rahul. Okay. Oh, I again given single quote, but this time I decide to use it in double quotes. That's our choice, double quotes or single quotes. And I say print, and then I say hello, comma, your name. With the hello Rahul. So hello is a string constant and name is a variable which is pointing to a string. So just to check, if I say type of name, it says it's of type string. And if I also had said type of name in double quotes, that's also string. And had I put this in single quotes, that's also string. So you can represent a string in single quotes, or you can represent a string in double quotes. So that was the first part. Interpreter prints the string result operation same way as you type for input. Means if I had said in double quotes Rahul, तो ये print कर रहा है, but ये मैंने भले ही double quotes दिया, it is printing it in single quotes. What if I write in single quotes? So it's just like while printing, it will always print in single quotes. You put double quotes or single quotes, for it is just a string. So it is still printing. I do not want these quotes to be printed while I'm printing it. Then just don't put into quotes, say print Rahul. So print will print it in more readable format without quotes. So ये string constant है, without quotes, तो ये Rahul print किया जा रहा है. So it's printing like print function produces more readable output for input string. So rather than printing this output Rahul in quotes. If I say print Rahul, I'll get Rahul as a separate string, so no quotes. String letters can span across multiple lines in several ways. You can use slash to continue it in the next line, or they can be surrounded with triple quotes. First, let me show you concept of slash. So I want to have a variable, say a variable which has input in more than one lines. Like I say I have a song and that's going to span across multiple lines. So I say double quotes, twinkle, twinkle, little star. But now I want to continue to the next line. If I put double quotes over here, and if it says use slash, so I put slash over here, and I'm continuing on next line. See, triple dot has appeared. That means same thing is being continued on the next line. And then I start writing. How I wonder what you are. And I again put slash. And I say up above the world so high. ये मेरा poem. And I stop. So if I now going to print song, it'll print it just as one line, but it has given us an opportunity to continue this print string on multiple lines. So it says twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high. Okay, that's a single string. So this quotes and this slash give you an opportunity to continue the string on the next line. So while you're defining it, you can continue the string on the next line. But then it says, or you can surround the string with pair of triple quotes and single quotes ki jagah triple quotes. Let's do that. So this song that has there, I'll not use this, rather I'll use triple quotes, ek do teen. And in between I'll not use any of this. Kuch nahi use karenge. Triple quotes se start karoge, so you don't have to use this continuation character. Neither on every line do I have to start with quotes. I can just go on to next line. That's it. Let's see whether it's allowed. Now, if I want to print my song, let's see how does it print. It says twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up over the world so high. That means actually multiple lines output has got displayed, but I want each of the lines to start right at the beginning. Okay, you want to start right at the beginning, then why leave this space? Say like this. So the way you type it, exactly in the same fashion it will display. So now if I say print song, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up over the world so high and so on. But there is no compulsion that I use these triple quotes, which are double triple quotes. I can use triple quotes, which are single triple quotes. That's also allowed. So I can say quote, quote, quote. And here I can say quote, quote, quote. Okay, quote, quote, quote. This is what I've done. I say enter. That's it. So I can use triple single quotes or I can use triple double quotes for creating multiple lines. Difference is, when I use this particular concept, here, when I use this particular concept of continuation, that's only meant for convenience for typing, not for printing. The line output is not printed in multiple lines. This was only for continuation. But I wanted the output also to go on to the next line. So what I could have done is here, at the end of every line, I could say new line character /n, /n, and /n. So if I had said /n, then it will print it on the next line. Let's see. If I print this song, it's printing on the next line. But for that, I had to use this continuation character, that is a new line character /n. Here in triple quotes, I don't have to do that. The moment you press enter to go to the next line, you'll assume that there is an enter sign that is there. If you correctly print it as multi-line output, whereas if I use slash, it is a single line output will get displayed even for this multi-line string. So although I have typed it on multiple lines, while printing, it is getting printed on single line. I want it also to go on to multiple lines, output also, and then use triple double quotes. There are triple single quotes. Triple single quotes. Yeah, if I'm going to use this continuation character, you specify go to the next line by saying /n. I don't want this spaces to be displayed. Okay, we'll come over here. I don't want this space on the second line and third line. Okay, that's perfectly all right. Now, if I want to print it, it will print it more appropriately. So correctly, it has gone at display. So that's how you create multi-line strings. End of the line do not need to be escaped when using triple quotes, but will be included in string. So when I'm displaying this particular string by using this concept of triple quotes, You don't have to write new line over here /n. It will automatically get added. You don't have to write. But when I'm using the regular string representation and continuation character \, then I'll have to include this /n in triple double quotes or triple single quotes. You don't have to introduce /n. That will automatically get embedded inside that particular string. Have you understood this concept of multiple lines? How to type it? Okay. Now, there is another very important concept. When we are creating strings, we have created string because in the string there may be a lot of data that is there. Your string may have a lot of data, but I'm not interested in the entire data. I'm only interested in part of the data or a particular character from that particular string and so on. So if I only want to access some part of the string and not the entire string, then in that case, we need to be aware of a concept called as substrings. Yeah, concept called as subscripts. So what these are, let's have a look at it. So we are trying to understand what is this concept of subscripts, which will give us an opportunity to identify a particular element from that particular string is also what we can actually identify. So let's have a look at this particular concept. And then we'll go ahead with various string functions which are available. So tomorrow's session will all be for various string functions which are there. Today, we'll only look into the concept where we can go ahead accessing some elements from that particular string. Okay, so we'd like to access some part of the string is what we'll try and do. So let's jump on to the concept of subscripts. So what exactly is a subscript? Let's try and understand. Here. Strings can be subscripts or indexed. So you can access individual element of a string by using subscript. Subscript gives you position of the element inside that string. Like see, the first character string is always subscript with index 0. So if I have a string called as hello, the position of word letter hello is 0. HELLO, there are 5 characters. I'll count it as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the last character in your string of size 5, its position will be 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So subscript index in Python, like in C++, starts with 0. So the position of the first element inside the string is identified as 0. And the last element is the string length -1. There are no separate character types in Python. Character type is just a string with a single character. So if I have hello as a string, the first character inside the string is E and not H. So if I want to have H, I let us say S of 0. Let's check it out. Here we are. So I have a string. Let's say name is equal to Rahul is a string. And I want the first character R. So if you say print name of 1, so instead of getting R, you get A. That's the second character. So अब मुझे पहला character चाहिए था, let us say name of 0. That will give me the first character R. Rahul का length कितना है? RAHUL, 5 characters है. So if I say name of 5, that will generate an error. कहता है string index out of range. Because range क्या है? 0 to string length -1. String का length 5 है. 5 - 1 is 4. तो राहुल में का जो लास्ट कैरेक्टर है RAHUL L चाहिए, तो I will say 4 here to get the last character L. So likewise, you can access any element of that particular string. I say third character क्या है, तो कह रहा है U है RAHUL 0, 1, 2, 3. 3 subscript means 4th position का character and so on. So you have 2 different concepts. One is positive index, other is negative index. So when I talk about positive index, Python का 0 है, Y का 1 है, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But there is also a concept called as negative index that starts from right to left. So n is -1, O is -2, and so on. So let's try and access for a string called as Python once again. So since we have a string called as Python, so I just say I have a string and I call that string as S is equal to, I say Python. Watch it. I say S of 0. I got P. Okay, Python make up P. I say S of 1, I got Y. But if I say S of -1, I'll get the last character, that is N. I don't have to calculate the length of the string. If I want the last character in any string, just say string of -1. So if -1 is N, then -2 would be. Yes, anybody?
Oh,
Oh,
Okay, so likewise you can go ahead accessing. तो अगर मुझे नेगेटिव इंडेक्स से P एक्सेस करना है तो what would I write?
-6.
Okay, let's say 6. It says P. Okay, we got it as P. But if I had said 7, you generate error. Because negative index in for Python will run from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Nothing more than 6. And positive index will run from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So for positive, left, right, 0 to 5. For negative, -1 to -6. That's how you can go ahead accessing elements from that particular string. So these are indexing mechanisms which are there. In addition to indexing, we also have a concept called as slicing. Should we continue with slicing? Is that okay for another 15 minutes? If you like, yes, no. We'll take another 15 minutes to cover up this particular topic. Okay, so majority is yes, so we will continue. So let me cover up all the aspect of this concept of strings. So we have now looked at indexing. In addition to indexing, there is concept called as slicing also, which is there. So let us look into slicing. That's a very, very powerful feature, which you all should master. Because if you master kya, then you are not in a position to work with strings in a proper way. So let me take some good examples for slicing and indexing. Slicing and indexing also. Indexing that we just now saw, but let's do it for slicing. Just give me a second. Here we go. Now you have to be watchful and you have to answer the questions. Huh? So, don't be in a hurry. Take your own sweet time to give the answers. Okay. So no hurry at all. Before that, what I'll do is I'll explain you the concept. Slicing. It says substrings can be created with a slice or a slice notation, 2 indexes in square bracket separated by colon. Means if I say Python 2:4, it gives you th. How? 0, 1, 2. 2, 3, why not 4? Oh, that's because when I do slicing, the first index is inclusive and the second index is exclusive. So 2:4 matlab in starting from 2 and before 4. So 2, 3. So let's understand this particular concept of slicing. When I do not give the starting index, it's from the first, that is 0 portion. When I do not give the ending index, it's still the last. Okay. I can also go ahead with negative indexing from the last character to the previous one and so on. So let's jump ahead with some kind of examples to understand this thing in a much better way. Let's jump ahead with an example. Is the shell visible, everybody?
Yes.
Yes, is the shell visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's now quickly explore concept of slicing. Here we go. I have a string s is equal to Python. That's our string. And then, like the first statement that we had seen, where we saw contains that is only P and H. So if I am writing a string, and if I say print Python 2:4, that means starting from 2, 0, 1, 2, T. Q3. So first index is inclusive, second is exclusive, and write such kind of statement. So now to do that, we got only TH. But in the same case, if I said 2 colon, I had not given the ending index. Suppose if I don't give the ending index, so in that case, starting from 2 till the last character. So again, THON starting from 2 to the last character. But then if I now say 2 colon 6, tell me please what will get displayed if I say 2 colon 6.
एरर देगा sir.
Louder?
एरर देगा एरर.
नहीं सर, एरर नहीं देगा.
Error देगा. क्यों error देगा?
से बाहर
सर बाहर जाएगा ना.
सर 6 एक्सक्लूड नहीं है ना, लेकिन एरर नहीं देगा.
मैंने कहा था फर्स्ट इंडेक्स इज इंक्लूसिव एंड सेकंड इज एक्सक्लूसिव. तो 2 colon 6 कहोगे तो कहां से कहां तक डिस्प्ले होगा? 2 से लेके
2 से 5 तक.
0 1 2 2 3 4 5. Are you going beyond the size of the string?
No, sir.
Yes or no?
No.
No.
No. So in that case, it will correctly display thumb. But at the same time, had I said 2,60, then what would happen?
Now it will go.
Now it should give an error. Let's see, is that always the case? Does it even go beyond the string? It did not give any error, even if I say 60. So I said 2 to 60, that means 2 to 59 jana chahiye tha. But then while you're indexing it, it will not go beyond the string length, whatever the length of the string is. It will never go beyond the string length while you're doing slicing concept. This is slicing. When you take a slice, although you said 60 and there is no 60th index, it does not generate any error. But then last time when I said 2 colon, what was the result for this? Starting from 2 till
Last.
character. So we got THON as the entire string. But had I done something like this, colon 2, that means when I do not give the starting index and I only give the ending index, then probably what should I display? Tell me.
PY. PY.
PY. Okay, because second index is exclusive. That means 0 or 1 position display करना चाहिए. 0 पे P है, 1 पे Y है. So only PY will get displayed. But likewise, if I had said 0,2, then what would get displayed?
Same PY.
Yeah, 0 is anyway by default starting index is 0. So ये पूरा display होगा 0 से लेके PY तक, everything will get displayed. But I can also take a section. That means I could say from 2 colon 6. So if I say 2 colon 6, चलो guess करो क्या display होगा?
THON. THON.
That we are already seeing. So
Yes.
THON is what will get displayed. But instead of 2 colon 6, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to use negative index. अगर मैंने कहा starting से -2 तक display करो, tell me now what will happen.
NOH.
Pardon?
NOH.
NOH. Any other answer?
पाइथन में से सर ON नहीं रहेगा.
ON नहीं रहेगा. Okay. So when we do this, starting index is 0. So starting index 0 है. Always when it's not being specified, it's always 0. तो 0 से -2 तक है. तो ये 0 है, ये 1 है, ये 2 है, ये 3 है, ये 4 है, ये 5 है. बट ये -1 है और ये -2 है. तो ये -1 -2 है. तो ये छोड़ते हुए 0 से लेके -2 तक it is gone ahead accessing saying PYTH. But then it means this statement and this statement is exactly the same, 0 से लेके -2 तक. Because when you do not specify the starting index is always 0. When you do not specify the ending index is always the length of the string -1. Now, if that is the case, let's do something more interesting. If I had said 2, -2, अब जरा बताइए क्या आएगा 2, -2? PH is what will get displayed. Very correct. We'll go ahead displaying PH. I'm now going to do something very different. I'm going to say starting from -2, सब कुछ display हो जाए. अब बताइए.
OH.
हाँ?
Sorry, ON.
OHT.
तो यानी movement जो है वो left to right ही है. तो starting from -2 end तक. When I do not specify the start, it is 0. When I do not specify the end, it is end of the string -1. ओके तो ये ON आ गया. That means this statement and this statement is exactly the same. String length ये exactly same. String length 6 है ना Python का PYTHON 6 है. तो by default string length रहेगा max. तो ये कह रहा है -2 colon is as good as saying -2 colon length of the string. It will still give the same result. So we can mix match this positive and negative index. We can match positive and negative index. Now, if you understood this, tell me what is the result for this. If I only say -3, अब क्या क्या डिस्प्ले करेगा? कौन से लेटर्स डिस्प्ले करेगा?
HON.
HON. Anybody else?
H, sir.
अरे this is very correct. This is not splicing. This is indexing. -3, -1,
Okay,
-2, -3. तो सिर्फ H ही डिस्प्ले करेगा और कुछ नहीं. Slicing के लिए 2 इंडेक्स चाहिए. I had only given over here only 1 index. So there were no 2 index that were given. Now I give 2 indexes. बताइए इसका आंसर क्या आएगा? I say starting from -3 go till -5. बताइए.
HT.
ON.
HTY.
HTY. Let us see whether it even runs. Okay, it says HO. So what has happened? HO -3 से लेके -5. -3 से लेके 5 तक. Sorry. I said sorry. Here I said 5. I should say -5. -3 से लेके -5. Does it even run? Okay, it says no, not allowed. That means when I give negative index -3, starting index and ending index ये देते हैं आप. Starting index का actual location in the string should be smaller than the ending index का actual location. तो यहाँ क्या हो रहा है? Python जो दे रहे तो -5 कहाँ आ रहा है? -1, -2, -3, -4 and -5 is y and -3 is यहाँ. तो ये YT आप एक्सपेक्ट करें, ये नहीं हो सकता है. Here the starting index is smaller, ending index का actual position the string is larger, smaller. ये starting का larger है, ending का smaller है. Left to right जाना है. Left should be smaller position and right should be the larger position inside the string. I'm not talking about the value, I'm talking about the position. So this has failed to fetch you any value in the string. Whereas when I had said -5 की जगह मैंने जब ये 5 कहा था तो ये काम कर गया. Why? Because अगर string को left to right पढ़े आप -3 पहले आएगा और 5 बाद में आएगा. कैसे? ये 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 में n है और -3 में क्या है? -1, -2, -3. तो HON है तो उसमें से HO आ जाएगा 5 के पहले का -3 से लेके 5 तक. तो starting index should always be on the left hand side and index should always be on the right hand side. अगर ये उल्टा हो गया it will generate an error. तो अगर आपने कहा Python (3, -5). So 5 colon -3. So start from 5 and end at -3. That's not possible. It will not give you any result. You have to be very careful while you are giving this indexing. So that was about slicing that we have to see. So slicing, actually what we are doing is we are giving starting index and we are giving the ending index. But then there is an option called as grabbing which is available in Python. So if I had said Python of (1), tell me what would it give (1)?
P.
E.
No.
(1) है यानी 0 से लेके 1
Sorry.
तक.
Nothing, sir.
0 से
P.
लेके 1 तक. तो
P.
P.
right? Okay, so सिर्फ P आ गया आपके पास. But if I say (1), let's see what happens. If I said (1), let's see, this is grabbing. ये तो पूरा Python दे रहा है. ये हो क्या रहा है? 0::1. Tell me when I do not do the starting index, what is the default starting index?
0.
0. What is the default end index?
String
length. String length 6 है, तो ये 6 आ गया. तो ये (1) was as good as writing 061. So 061 gave you Python. Now what is 0? This is starting index. This is ending index, which is exclusive, and this is step value. That means in this range, give me every next character. Means ये 1 की जगह had I put in 2, so every second character you will get in that particular range. देखो ETP. पीटीपी कैसे हो गया, पी आ गया, एक स्किप किया टी आ गया, एक स्किप किया ओ आ गया, एक स्किप किया kind of thing. Every alternate character it has given us. So I will give the third part index that we are now giving over here. So while 0 was the starting index, 6 was ending index, third is the step value. So when I use three things in this particular string, how do I read it? We'll have to read it something like this. This is what the documentation says: starting index, end index, and step value. So what we are given is the third is a step value while we are trying to access the values. So now that we have seen what these three indexes mean, I'm going to write some statements and you are expected to give the right answer. So now if I write a string, something like this, if I start with the string and if I say 361, बताइए क्या देगा 361?
HON HO
Yes, 361.
HO
Not possible,
HON.
sir.
HON.
HON.
HON देगा.
yes
So
yes
6 is exclusive, तो 5 तक जाएगा. तो 3 से लेके 5 तक every next character is what we are getting. 3 से लेके 5 तक every next character is what we are getting. अब इसका आंसर बताइए.
Sir, N.
पढ़ा?
N.
5 से लेके 0 तक every next character. Can you go from 5 to 0?
नहीं सर,
No,
कुछ
sir.
भी नहीं
No,
डिस्प्ले
sir.
होगा.
Okay. Starting index should always be
Smaller.
smaller. तो ये कुछ नहीं आ रहा है. Okay. So always keep that rule in mind. Then वो negative index हो या positive हो, starting index should be on the left and end index should be on the right. Now, keeping that thing in mind, अब अगर मैंने कुछ ऐसा लिखा तो इसका आंसर क्या आएगा बताइए. If I say 3 0 and -1, तो step -1 याद है, लॉजिक में हमने कुछ ऐसा किया था, step -1, 3 0 -1. बताइए अभी. जब स्टेप वैल्यू पॉजिटिव है, यू आर मूविंग फ्रॉम लेफ्ट राइट. जब स्टेप वैल्यू नेगेटिव है, यू आर मूविंग फ्रॉम राइट टू लेफ्ट. नाउ विद दैट हिंट, गिव मी द आंसर.
TY.
लाउडर.
TY.
TY.
TT.
TY. Okay, let's see. It says HTY.
Yeah.
Why
3 was-
HTY?
First
3.
index is included.
Okay. तो ये 0 1 2 3 H starting index is inclusive और 0 तक, और ये -1 है, यानी स्टेप पहले उल्टा चलो, H T and ये PT, because P is 0, तो 0 के पहले YTH बट रिवर्स ऑर्डर में आ गया, तो स्टेप पहले नेगेटिव हो गया, तो स्ट्रिंग विल गेट प्रिंटेड इन रिवर्स ऑर्डर. इंस्टेड ऑफ ascending, it means left right, it will get printing in right to left. Now, having understood this, I'm going to write one more statement and I want you to give the right answer for this. If I say 60 -1, बताइए क्या आएगा.
P exclude होगा सिर्फ.
Yes, Inori.
P exclude होगा सिर्फ.
आउटपुट क्या आएगा बताइए.
NO
Python in reverse order
Except
P.
P.
okay, so Python reverse order except P. So NOHTY P नहीं आया. Okay, but suppose if I said PY and 6 comma -7 and -1, तो बताइए क्या आएगा.
नहीं ना सर, एरर आएगा ना.
Okay, look at what has happened. It says 6 7 -1. तो ये -1 है, तो in that case the first index should be larger and second should be smaller. तो 0, ये देखिएगा, P0 1, ये ऐसा होगा 0 1 2 3 4 5 6, तो यहाँ एंड से लेके -7 तक. तो स्लाइसिंग एंड ग्रैबिंग में इंडेक्सेस कैन गो बियॉन्ड. हमने ये नहीं देखा था, यहाँ 0,60 भी कहा था, तो दैट वाज नॉट एन इशू. नेवर गो बियॉन्ड द लास्ट कैरेक्टर और बिफोर द फर्स्ट कैरेक्टर. तो 6 वाज एक्चुअली द लास्ट पोजीशन, -7 वाज इवन बिफोर द फर्स्ट पोजीशन, -1 है ना, तो नेगेटिव इंडेक्सिंग में क्या चाहिए, द फर्स्ट वन शुड बी लार्जर देन द सेकंड वैल्यू, एंड दैट इज करेक्ट. यहाँ आप +1 देते हैं ना, तो दैट वाज एन एरर. देखते हैं, +1 देते हैं तो दैट वुड जनरेट नथिंग, दैट्स एन एररनेस काइंड ऑफ स्टेटमेंट. यहाँ एरर है. बट अगर आप -1 देते हो तो दैट्स ओके. व्हेन यू आर काउंटिंग फ्रॉम लेफ्ट टू राइट, ओके, व्हेन यू आर प्रिंटिंग द स्ट्रिंग बाय सेइंग स्टेप पॉजिटिव वैल्यू, द फर्स्ट इंडेक्स शुड बी स्मॉलर देन द सेकंड इंडेक्स. When you are printing in the reverse order, step value आपका negative है, the first index should be larger than the second index. समझ में आ रहा है what I just now said?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Depends upon whether you're moving from left to right or whether you're moving from right to left. So we all understood this concept of slicing and grabbing.
सर
Yes,
मतलब
yes.
एंडिंग इंडेक्स अगर साइज से बड़ा हो तो वो साइज ही कंसीडर किया जाएगा.
Slicing and grabbing में
Slicing
ending
में.
index हो या starting index हो, that can be beyond the bounds. It doesn't matter. It will always by default, if you do not give or if you give the larger or the smaller value, it will always start from the first position. End index, if you don't give or if you give larger than the length of the string, still it will not go beyond the last character in the inside the string.
और स्लाइसिंग में अगर स्टार्ट इंडेक्स और एंड इंडेक्स सेम दे दिया तो एरर आएगा ना.
Pardon?
स्लाइसिंग में
हाँ
अगर स्टार्ट इंडेक्स और एंड इंडेक्स सेम दे दिया
हाँ,
error
error नहीं
आएगा.
आएगा. No string, empty string.
Okay.
Out of bound जो expression था ना, वो नहीं, error नहीं आएगा. आपने start और end एक ही दे दिया, correct? So there is nothing to be extracted. So no, nothing will get displayed. It won't generate error, but it won't display anything.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, but let's check it out. I'm saying no error, but nothing is going to be displayed. तो आपने कहा यहाँ 661 या 66 -1. मैंने कहा 661, no output. 661, no output. It doesn't generate an error though. Is that okay? Quick feedback, everybody. Have you understood, not understood this concept? Okay. So we have seen what is a string, how do we go ahead accessing the contents of the string, and what is this very important concept called as slicing and grabbing is what we have seen. What I'll do is, just for your reference, for this slicing and grabbing, I'll share one script with you that will act as a reference for you. This was the very basic stuff and very important concept of strings. Tomorrow when we meet, we'll actually go a deep dive into strings and explore some advanced concept of strings, especially some very important function that string class provides us. Those are the functions that we'll look into. So here I have shared a file called as string2.py. Let me know all of you have received this particular file. It's a script. All the examples that we have just now taken are captured over here. Have you got it, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with that note, we'll stop over here today. Explore the string class. Make changes in your example with the concept of final. Wherever money is involved, use final variables, or not money. Wherever money is involved, use decimal. Wherever you want to have a constant, use this typing module may say concept called as final, and declare a variable as final. And try and install MyPy as well. आपका Linux Windows दोनों पे try करो. Go to the documentation and see installation notes and install MyPy and be ready for tomorrow's session. Very
Sure.
often we'll be checking for correctness of our program through using of external tools. So try and install MyPy before you come for the tomorrow's session. So on that note, we'll stop over here today. See you tomorrow. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye.